Dave Palumbo with another RxMuscle rant. Today's topic, Roelly Winklaar, the freak of freaks. This is a guy who's evolved over the last, I'd say 10 years to become one of the freakiest, most dangerous athletes in the IFBB. When we saw him win that Arnold Amateur back in 2009, if you guys can remember, that was one of the first couple of years they started giving away a pro card to the overall winner. And the deal was, if you won the Arnold Amateur, this was only in the United States, by the way, at the time, they would give you an automatic invite to the Arnold the following year. That was kind of like the little carrot they dangle. And Roelly won that show, I remember in 2009, and he was a freak back then. He wasn't obviously as big as he is now, but he was certainly crazy. He had the nutty looking arms, the triceps were ridiculous. And I remember seeing the pictures. I didn't actually see him win on stage, but I remember when I saw the pictures afterwards, I'm like, holy mackerel, this guy is going to be super dangerous. And sure enough, the following year at the New York Pro 2010, Roelly dominated that show and looked incredible. And everyone was predicting huge, great things for him. And this is back when he was working with Grandma, if you remember. He had an older woman who trained people in the Netherlands, and she was training him, and she was kind of like his mother and everyone's mother over there, and they called her Grandma. And Sybil Peters is her name, and we've interviewed her before. And she kind of gave Roelly her start. She used to train him in the gym, and she did his diet, and she pretty much did everything for the guy. And he worked with her for a number of years, and then he hit some kind of a snag. It was probably around 2011, 12, 13. He wasn't bringing in the look that he needed to bring in, or that we expected from him. He wasn't full enough. He was either too flat or he was too smooth. And he couldn't get that right balance of the two. Yeah, he was squeaking out, a pro win here or there. I think he won the Nordic Pro, 2 years in a row. But he wasn't winning any big shows. The big shows, he wasn't really bringing enough. And I think people were kind of disappointed. And maybe some people were writing him off. And I know that Roelly went through a transition where Grandma and him kind of separated ways. He kind of was doing his own thing for a little while. And he seemed to have gotten better at that point. But then the Camel crew over there in Kuwait contacted him, and they brought him out there the last, year or two ago. And he just has made enormous strides there. Once again, the financial support had to be super, super important to Roelly, because I know financially he wasn't really doing that great. And it's hard. Bodybuilding is an expensive sport. Food, drugs, supplements. Camel crew made that possible for him to train 24 hours a day, do what he had to do, live the bodybuilding lifestyle, something that he couldn't do that other guys were doing. And he made tremendous, tremendous improvements. He put on an enormous amount of size, but yet he was able to come to the stage with the size and the conditioning and the fullness. And that's when Roelly Winklaar started doing damage. He finally broke into that top 6 at the Olympia in 2016. He duplicated the top 6 as well this past year, 2017, 2 6th-place finishes. And, at this point, I would say probably by that first 6th-place finish, people were talking about Roelly Winklaar being the real deal. The guy who you have to watch out for on stage, one of the most dangerous guys in the lineup. He's certainly in the gym as Mr. Olympia. There's no doubt about it. If they had a gym Mr. Olympia competition, Roelly Winklaar would have the title probably, 8 years going right now, because no one looks freakier in a tank top than this guy. Because the shoulders, the arms, the back, just the density that he has in that gym when he's full. It brings me back to the Dennis James, probably in the early 2000s. A lot of people told me that, in the gym, Steve Weinberger once told me, he goes, Dave, you in the gym, you could be Mr. Olympia. But shows are won on stage. So Roelly had to bring that freakiness under control to a certain degree to the stage. And he's been able to do that, obviously, with the 4th-place finish at the Arnold USA, and then this past week in Australia, beating the lineup of William Bonac, who was the champion from the Arnold USA. He beat Dexter Jackson. He beat everyone convincingly. And I think that was important. I think that people don't want to just think that he got handed a free trophy here or a free check. This guy earned it. He brought the goods. He brought the conditioning. He brought the size. He brought the freakiness. And let's face it, this is bodybuilding. It's about building muscle. And Roelly has more muscle per square inch than probably anyone else on that stage. Dare I say he might be bigger than Ramy on a height for weight basis. Certainly with density, because I have never seen Ramy get as hard as Roelly gets. Now, could Roelly have been a little tighter at the Arnold? Arnold Australia, I would have liked to see him a little bit harder. But in the lineup that he beat, he didn't need it. But I think that he has the ability to get harder. And with the size that he has, he's certainly not going to sacrifice anything if he comes in hard. Now, I thought he was better at the Olympia, to be honest with you, where he placed 6th. And I would have had him probably a little higher. So I think that Roelly's conditioning at the Olympia is exactly what he needs to bring to the stage. I don't think there's anyone who can stand next to the guy size-wise. And the truth of the matter is that even though his waist is big, the taper he's got is good because his shoulders are so wide. Remember, it's an illusion. Jay Cutler didn't have a small waist, and he won 4 Olympias and 3 Arnold Classics. He won because he has a great taper, because he has such wide shoulders that his waist looked small. In comparison, his V taper was good. And that's what Roelly's got. Roelly's got a good V taper despite the fact that his waist is a little on the large size. Now let's face it, the guy's huge. When you get that big, okay, everything grows. But the thing that some people, I guess, fail in, the department some people fail in, is that their waist gets bigger than the shoulders, and that doesn't work. But Roelly has everything in proportion. His legs have come up quite a bit. He's got really good legs now. He's got a really good back. And let's face it, back and conditioning and arms win shows. And he's got all 3 of those. So can Roelly Winklaar win the Olympia? Maybe. He might be able to. In the right lineup, at the right time, with a couple guys maybe being off, I think Roelly Winklaar can certainly do it. And you can justify him winning it because he's, like I said, one of the biggest freaks out there. If Dexter Jackson can win the Olympia, okay, and he was never the biggest guy up there, but he had tremendous conditioning and tremendous lines, I think Roelly Winklaar could win it for the very same reasons. Not that Dexter had it, but the fact that he has more muscle than everyone else. He can bring conditioning that other people can't bring to the stage. And he's got good shape, you know, when you look at it from the perspective of the illusion that he creates on stage. And he's bigger than everyone else. And once again, Mr. Olympia is, with the exception of Phil Heath in recent times and Dexter, Mr. Olympia has always been the biggest guy on stage pretty much, from Dorian Yates to Lee Haney to Ronnie Coleman to Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. You know, so at this point in time, Roelly is a dangerous, dangerous guy who keeps getting better. And I think that at the Olympia come September, he's going to surprise a lot of people. And don't be shocked if we see a Roelly Winklaar top 3 finish at the Olympia, which would certainly put him in contention for the win possibly the following year. So the progression and evolution of Roelly Winklaar has been something that's awesome to watch. I've got to interview him along the way. It's nice to see someone who just put their heart and soul into bodybuilding, despite the fact that maybe they weren't making a ton of money, but they did it for the passion and the love of the sport. And Roelly, my hat's off to you. Congratulations on the big win at the Arnold Australia, and good luck at the 2018 Mr. Olympia. I'm Dave Palumbo with another RxMuscle rant. Okay. Let's do